Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jets Report. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, we got a big-time update on Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson and if they could get their contract extensions before the start of the season. This report was coming in from Rich Cimini, so we'll break that down here in a second. And also, second half of today's show, I do want to talk about the Jets trading for Trevon Diggs. Now, his name has been kind of tossed in the latest NFL trade rumors, so would it make sense for the Jets to trade for Trevon Diggs, a very, very good cornerback? Pair him up with Sauce Gardner. We'll break it all down on today's show. But before we dive into it, if you guys could, hit that subscribe button. We are closing in here on 6,500 subs. We are less than 250 away. So if you guys have not already, hit that subscribe button. We post a video every single day around the New York Jets. So I would really appreciate your guys' support here. Hit that subscribe button today, and let's dive into the Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson conversation. So as we know, both those guys have been, wanting to get these extensions, and a lot of us fans think that it will be a deal that will get done before the start of the season. Well, Rich Cimini gave some insight on this situation, and he was talking about the Rodgers and Mosley cap situation as both of their cap hits dropped down to around $13.5 million from $36.5 million. And he says this: on June 2nd, that number does drop to $13.5 million, making the Jets one of the leaders in cap room. They will have plenty of flexibility to sign Wilson and cornerback Sauce Gardner to contract extensions. Now, I think with the Jets getting that cap space flexibility, they're not going to use that on, signing, another player like an Asante Samuel or Rasul Douglas. I think they want to get these extensions done, keep these guys happy. And now you may be asking, well, what's going to happen with like a guy like Jermaine Johnson? Because obviously he was part of that draft class, the third first-round pick from that year after Sauce and Garrett Wilson. And I think the Jets, and we'll talk about Sauce and Wilson here in a second, but specifically on Jermaine Johnson, obviously him coming off that big-time knee injury last year. He was special in his sophomore campaign, flashed a little bit in his freshman year. I almost wonder if the Jets could try to take advantage of maybe getting Jermaine Johnson on a bargain-esque deal where, if they are big fans of his game and they think he can be a true, Pro Bowl caliber edge rusher coming off this big-time knee injury, I think it would make some sense for the Jets to be like, hey, we'll go toss you this contract extension here this offseason, but you could get him on a bargain deal since he is coming off that torn ACL. If they let him play out this season, let's just say he goes out there and has 12.5 sacks, he's probably going to get around $30 million per year. But maybe the Jets could try to get him on like a $21 million deal. Like you sign him for maybe like 3 years, $66 million, and like 40 of that is guaranteed. So it still gets you an out after year two. But what that contract would allow you to do, or let's just say Jermaine Johnson goes and has a monster season, that contract's looking like one of the better ones in the NFL. So that's how I would play it with Jermaine, but specifically here on Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Now, I do expect both these deals to get done before the season. And I think if you've kind of been paying attention to this offseason with the Jets, and mainly Aaron Glenn, and what he's talked about is he loves the full participation. Like the Jets at OTAs had 100% participation, which is awesome. Not many teams, have that, and I think that speaks to Aaron Glenn. And I think Glenn wants to have a situation where all these guys feel, bought into the team, bought into the organization. And when you have Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, two of your three best players outside of Quinnen Williams, you would want both those guys to be fully motivated, fully invested in this. And, money talks with these guys. Like if you go give Sauce Gardner, let's just say the Derek Stingley deal, where Stingley signed the 3-year, $90 million deal, damn near fully guaranteed. $89 million of that wasn't guaranteed dollars. Like, just go toss Sauce that deal. Yes, $30 million is a lot for a corner, but I also do believe Sauce, when he is playing his best football, he is probably the best cornerback in the NFL. And I'm sure he wants to have a redemption season because when everybody talks about the best corner in the league, Sauce's name kind of gets left out now. A lot of that love does go to, Derek Stingley, Pat Surtain. Those are two tremendous corners. Not trying to, discredit anything they have done. But, if you got a guy like Sauce, who's an all-pro caliber player, was all-pro in his first 2 seasons, definitely had a, down year last year. And, I don't mean this to call out Sauce by saying this, but I do feel like he checked out a little bit last season and mainly at the second half. And I would have wanted him to stay fully locked in no matter what was going on. But with all the, BS around the team last year and him just not really being a willing tackler in the open field, I wonder if that was kind of business decision for Sauce, where it's like he wasn't going to fully exert himself. So I would make him happy. Give him that $30 million per year. He wants it, and plus he's dating Ice Spice now, so he needs some extra cheddar to take her out on some dates. But in all seriousness, I would pay Sauce $30 million a year, give him that Derek Stingley deal, and I think it could work out. Now, here on Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson is a no-doubt wide receiver 1 in the league. Now, is he on the level of wide receiver 1s like a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase? Probably not. Now, could he be at some point in his career if he puts in the work? Absolutely. He's got all the natural athletic talent you would hope for at the wide receiver spot. But I think they should try to just give both these guys $30 million per year each, where maybe you give Garrett Wilson like a 4 for $120 and like 90 of it's guaranteed. And then if he, for some reason his career doesn't go the way we're thinking of, you have an out after like the third year. But I would get him locked up early. We saw with the Eagles, them signing A.J. Brown to that $32 million per year deal. That looks like a bargain considering Jefferson got $35 last offseason, and then this offseason, Jamar Chase getting $40 million. So maybe Garrett Wilson would want that A.J. Brown deal where it was like, I think it was 3 years, like $94 million or $96 million deal for A.J. Brown. I'd be cool with them giving him that. I would rather get him, that extra year, that fourth year, and then have, that total number be like 120, and you give like $90 million guaranteed. I'm sure both those guys would be thrilled with those deals. It really just comes down to if these guys kind of want to bet on themselves a little bit, where it's like, yeah, I know I've been very special in the year or in my career so far, but let's just say we go out there and win 10 games. And, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner would be a big reason why they would go do that. Maybe they could wait, but I'm sure they want to get paid. They have put in a lot of work on those rookie deals. They're underpaid players as it stands right now, so I would get both those done. But, hey, if you guys want the Jets to extend both Sauce and Garrett Wilson, just give me a me down below in the comments section. Hopefully we send a message to the front office here. But I do want to close out today's show just talking about a trade rumor I saw floated out there. And, it is that time of the offseason as I'm filming this, May 25th. A lot of stuff is being floated out there on who could get dealt. And, I don't think it's likely that the Cowboys decide to move Trevon Diggs, but they did just draft Trevon Revelle Jr. They got Bland coming back. Maybe they try to get some extra draft capital for Trevon. And, Trevon's one of those guys where, he's a ball hawk at the cornerback position where he will get beat over the top a whole lot, but also make some big-time plays. He'll have a pick six here and there. He is a playmaker in the secondary. And I would actually love the idea on paper of Trevon Diggs next to Sauce Gardner. But the only thing is, are you willing to pay two cornerbacks premium money? Now, I'm sure Aaron Glenn would want to, but does that make sense in terms of roster construction? Because, listen, Trevon did just sign, I believe it was last offseason, he signed a 5-year, $97 million deal where Trevon's cap hits, I got him pulled up right now, only $12 million in 25, 26, $18 million, 27, $23 million, and 28, he's on the books for $21 million. So, honestly, that deal is not bad, and if you pair him up making that $2-ish million per year with Sauce getting probably 30+ a year, you can make it work to a certain extent, but also the trade for Trevon Diggs, you're probably going to have to give up a second-round pick, I would assume. Maybe you can get him for a third, but I think that's a little unlikely. But I would consider it, but also I'm still in the camp that the Jets should just play this year out. See what you have with these guys. Don't really push the issue too much, because if you do get ultra-aggressive and you have another down year, those moves, I don't know, they just wouldn't really make too much sense. But if you really believe in this Jets team and you think they could be successful this year and you think they could compete for that 7th seed in the AFC, which I personally, I think that should be their goal, is to try and go land that 7th seed. Try to go knock off the Broncos, the Chargers, one of these other AFC West teams for that last wild card spot. And I think they got a good chance to do so. It is all going to come down to how it turns out on paper, and I still think the Jets have a good roster top to bottom. But in terms of Trevon Diggs, I'd hold off. Maybe this could be a trade deadline move, or if we look up and the Jets are 4-2, Cowboys are 2-4, Trevon's on the block, maybe you could trade for him during the season. But I just don't think there will be any big-time trades before the season starts. The Cowboys have already been ultra-aggressive here, going out and getting George Pickens. I can't see Jerry making another big-time move unless it's during the season. But those are my thoughts. Jermaine Johnson, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Trevon Diggs. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and hit that subscribe button on your way out. See y'all next time. Go Jets.